Think back to all the times you've seen food waste sitting on the ground or being thrown in a trash bin. Or all the times you haven't finished your food at lunch. Did you compost it? Did you think, what could I do to make sure this doesn't end up in a landfill? Or did you just find the closest bin, no matter what color it was, throw it away, and move on to your next activity without a second thought of what will happen to that uneaten food? The problem starts with us. Americans since World War II have had an out-of-sight, out-of-mind culture fueled by inventions like the garbage disposal and other similar technologies.
We all expect to walk into a supermarket and be able to buy anything we want at any time of day. And that means that they have to carry all of that inventory.
When food is not composted, it is sent to landfills, poured into a pile, and left to rot. Public schools waste about 2% of our national food waste per year. While this might not seem like a lot, out of the 133 billion pounds of food waste per year in the US, it amounts to over 2.5 billion pounds of public school waste every year. That's about 36.5 pounds of food waste per student. To put that into perspective, a school bus weighs about 25,000 pounds. That's over 100,000 school buses of wasted food from public schools alone. In the world, there are about 795 million people suffering from world hunger, which the food waste from the US alone could feed approximately 5 times. This is a problem we can fix. But realistically speaking, we won't be able to stop all of the food waste anytime soon, but we sure as hell could solve the world hunger by simply changing the mindset of the US people to think about what happens to the things we can't see. So next time you think that it won't matter, that the piece of uneaten food won't mean anything, think about the hundreds of millions of people going hungry every day because of our ignorance. Our ignorance of world problems that we can solve. European countries have already begun to take actions, like France, which has passed a law requiring large supermarkets to donate unsold food to farms or charities, and Germany, who has abandoned traditional landfills in 2005. It's not that the US has not addressed the problem. The Environmental Protection Agency in the US has set a goal for 2015 to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. This is a great goal for us to set out for. But the only solution we have are currently stuck in the committee, and the only things that have happened is funding of programs with minimal impact on the issue. There has been no major impact from Congress to hit this goal. We think that this is due to the lack of opinion in the US to fight this problem. Our ignorance is all that stands between 795 million starving people and sustainable food.
The average American produces about 4.4 pounds of waste per day. 1.5 pounds of that is composted or recycled, meaning the U.S. only diverts about 34% of its waste from landfills. But thanks to bold public policy, San Francisco is leading all of North America in waste reduction. It diverts about 80% of the city's waste from landfills. That's over 1.5 million tons a year.
So the ultimate goal here in San Francisco is to be the first city in the United States to reach zero waste. And the ways we define zero waste in San Francisco is nothing to landfill and nothing to incineration.
The city hopes to achieve this goal by 2020. But even if it doesn't, San Francisco is already way ahead of other cities. New York, for example, only diverts about 21% of its waste, and Chicago, only 10%. To get to zero waste, San Francisco made recycling and composting mandatory in 2009 and banned certain items like styrofoam and plastic grocery bags. The city also initially set trash collection rates much higher than recycling and composting rates to encourage the behavior change.
So San Francisco's rate structure, how we charge people for their trash service, is very nuanced.
Collection rates for residents and businesses are determined by the volume of waste. Businesses receive discounts for using the blue and green bins and will be penalized if recyclables or food scraps end up in the trash.
People tend to separate economy and environment. It's very common to think they're diametrically opposed. The city of San Francisco and Recology are in perfect alignment when it comes to the goal of reaching zero.
But the final element that sets San Francisco apart is the sheer scale of its operations. Here's how it works. Say you throw a water bottle into the recycling. A truck will pick it up and bring it here to Recycle Central, one of the largest recycling sorting centers in the country. The bottle will be scooped up by a tractor, loaded into a drum feeder, and placed on a conveyor belt where workers will weed out contamination. From there, a series of high-tech screens, magnets, and optical sorters will separate the paper, metals, and plastics. The bottle will end up in a bale with other plastics and shipped to a domestic recycling plant. San Francisco's composting facility is also state-of-the-art. All of the city's yard waste and food scraps are brought here to Vacaville, where they're weighed, ground up, and blended. The compost piles are aerated to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and the nutrient-rich product is sold as fertilizer. Believe it or not, your glass of Napa wine could be grown with San Francisco's trash.
Our top buyers are agriculture, vineyards. We sell a lot into the Napa-Sonoma motherlode area for vineyards, and also then some of the nut growers, the almond growers, walnut growers in the Central Valley.
This facility was one of the first in the U.S. to compost food scraps.
When we started in 94, 95 with food, there wasn't anybody doing it on a commercial scale that we were processing, and a lot of naysayers in the beginning. Today, they can't argue with our success. It can be done. If you want to do it, it can be done.
It costs $300 million a year to operate San Francisco's zero waste program, and it's funded solely through waste collection fees, which are actually no higher than average for the Bay Area.
It is always in the short term, it's cheaper to pick everything up together in one truck and bury it forever in a landfill. But you know, that's short term.
A complex recycling operation can also be an engine for job growth.
20 times more jobs are created when you recycle for each ton of material than if you put it in a landfill.
So will the city actually reach zero waste by 2020? The last 20% could be the biggest hurdle. But more awareness could help. A whopping 60% of what ends up in San Francisco's trash bins could be recycled or composted. As for the rest,
that's the stuff that's really hard, and that is the stuff that citizens cannot do on their own. We need manufacturers to step up. We need products to be designed differently so that they're using materials that can be handled in our recycling and our composting.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.